Yes, you. Meanwhile, go back to headquarters and get backup. Pray that you return in time, before our prey decides to leave. But sir, Warren stuttered, you can't. I mean, you're a gentleman of good family. You couldn't possibly go into a place like this and pretend to be part of that scum in there. The look Mr. Ambrose gave his subordinate could have frozen lava. I've had a lot of practice in dealing with scum. Now give me your clothes. Warren was out of his cap and jacket before you could say, God save the Queen. He handed them to Mr. Ambrose, who in return gave him his carefully folded back tailcoat. I don't want to see a single stain on it when you give it back, he commanded. It is only 10 years old and still in mint condition. Yes, of course, sir. Warren took the jacket, which in my opinion was definitely not in mint condition, handling it like a newborn babe. Mr. Ambrose shrugged on the workman's jacket and placed the cap onto his neatly trimmed black hair, drawing it deep into his face. I had expected the workman's clothes to look odd or unnatural on him, expected that everybody would be able to tell immediately that this was Mr. Rickard Ambrose, one of the richest men of the city. I could not have been more wrong. What the heck? My mouth fell open and I stared. I blatantly stared. The filthy cap and jacket transformed him as if they were a second skin. All of a sudden, he looked darker, rougher around the edges. He looked like a delinquent who would beat the stuffing out of you if you even looked at him wrong. A man who lived hard, and by his own rules. I had to admit, the look suited him very well indeed. At a motion of his hand, Warren and his 2 associates hurried off down the street. Mr. Ambrose looked after them, shaking his head. Where did you find him, Kareem? He asked, grimly. He has no clue what he is in for. Kareem shrugged. He had good references, Sahib. This is not the colonies. This is the city. It is not easy to find people good with the guns and their brains. Mr. Ambrose gave a curt nod of acknowledgement. You two, wait here, he ordered. I'm doing this on my own. But Sahib, Kareem began, yet one glance from Mr. Ambrose cut him off. I, for my part, knew better than to argue. Without hesitation, Mr. Ambrose marched off towards the Plough and Anchor, leaving Kareem and me behind. I waited until the door had closed behind him and Kareem was looking after Warren, disappearing in the distance. Then I stole away from the giant bodyguard and followed Mr. Ambrose into the pub. I indeed knew better than to argue. Simply disobeying was so much easier. Asterisk tilde asterisk tilde asterisk asterisk tilde asterisk tilde asterisk inside. It took a few seconds for my eyes to get used to the dim lighting. But it would take even longer for my nose to get used to the stench. Coughing, I covered my mouth and nose with my hand. Sweat, cheap drink and other fumes I didn't care to identify formed an aroma in the air that could have knocked out a world champion boxer. My eyes began to water from the stench. Hastily, I blinked the tears away. I had to keep my eyes open if I didn't want to get my throat cut here. Quickly, I took in my surroundings. Several dirty tables stood against the back wall, grouped around a half-open door. A number of dirty sailors and dirty factory workers in dirty clothes sat there, together with a couple of dirty women with very dirty, low-cut dresses, playing dirty cards, and from time to time joining the even dirtier song played by a dirty piano player to my left. To my right, there was a dirty, long bar with large, dirty barrels of drinks behind it, and a bartender whose largeness and dirtiness could easily compete with his barrels. He was polishing a dirty metal tankard with an even dirtier cloth. Several people were sitting at the dirty bar. They too, surprise, were dirty, and staring into dirty tankards. Only a few, who didn't have dirty tankards to drink out of, were staring in the direction of the women. But I bet at least their thoughts were dirty. So, on the whole, the establishment was not really clean as a spring shower, if you catch my drift. And there, lounging against the corner of the bar as if he were a regular patron of this den of iniquity, was Mr. Rickard Ambrose, one leg leisurely crossed over the other, an elbow resting on the bar, a tankard in his hand. As I watched, he emptied the tankard in one large gulp and slapped the surface of the bar. This ain't half bad. Another one, me good fellow. I blinked, stunned. Had I just heard correctly? It was Mr. Ambrose's voice, and it came out of Mr. Ambrose's mouth, but Mr. Ambrose would never in his life call anybody my good fellow, let alone commit the gross grammatical incorrectness of substituting a me for the my. This kind of behavior was reserved for the lower strata of society, the people who weren't the second richest, or maybe even richest, man of the entire British Empire. Maybe you're dreaming, Lily. Maybe this is a nightmare. Didn't ye hear me? The pseudo-Ambrose roared like a drunken lumberjack. Another drink. A really, really strange nightmare. Don't you make no fuss, the barrel-bellied bartender growled. I'm coming. You'd better. The person at the bar with Mr. Ambrose's voice and looks growled back. I'm dying for a few pig ears. Correction. A completely crazy dream. When the landlord turned his back on the pseudo-Ambrose, or was it him? It had to be. To fill a tankard, I sidled up to him. Pig ears. I hissed into his ear. What the heck do you want with pig ears? I thought we were here for the file. He jerked. You, Mr. Ambrose's usual, cold, cultured voice came out of the corner of his mouth and let me tell you, I had never been so relieved to hear it. Hooray, this was not a nightmare, and not a body-snatching double either. Mr. Ambrose was still alive and right in front of me. He, however, didn't seem so overjoyed to see me. Dark, sea-colored eyes bored into me. What are you doing in here? Don't try to change the subject. What do you want with pig ears? He growled. I do not want pig ears. It is Cockney rhyming slang for big beers. I was ordering a drink whilst trying to fit in with the natives. Now tell me, what are you doing here, Mr. Linton? I drew myself up to my full height, which, unfortunately, was nowhere near his. I'm coming with you, sir. I specifically ordered you to stay outside. Yes, sir, that's why I came in. I find it very hard to be docile and obedient. About one hair of his left eyebrow twitched, betraying a desire to rise. Indeed, I hadn't noticed. He eyed me coolly. I have the feeling that it will not do any good to argue with you about this. You're right. And of course you know I can't argue with you, really, because it would draw attention to us. You put it succinctly, sir. You are a devious individual, Mr. Linton. I dipped my head courteously, doing my best to conceal a grin. Thank you, sir. So can I stay? Agreed. You can remain. He leant a bit closer. I had to strain to hear him now. But if you value your life, behave inconspicuously. I will see if I can find our man at the tables. With his head, he motioned over to the dirty tables, where the patrons were just now singing a song that seemed to include a lot of ale, men, women, and combinations of the latter two elements. You stay at the bar and mingle with the patrons. Talk like they do what they do, and listen. At that moment, the landlord turned around with a tankard of ale in his hand. Mr. Ambrose grabbed it and was gone before I could answer. So I turned to the bar and eyed the patrons suspiciously. They were a motley crew: cab drivers, sailors, factory workers, and some shady individuals whose profession I would prefer not to learn. All of them looked even more disheveled and dangerous up close than they had from afar. The only one who looked even more disreputable than all of them put together was the bartender. He was eyeing me suspiciously, which didn't really surprise me. In his eyes, I had to be a small, beardless youth in baggy, middle-class trousers. Not his usual customer at all. Talk as they talk, do what they do. Well, at the moment, the others at the bar weren't doing much of anything except slouching. I was wondering whether I should just try to imitate the general silent sullenness when, suddenly, one of the patrons held out his tankard and the bartender turned his suspicious gaze from me and started filling it with a glistening amber liquid. As soon as it was full, the man drank it down in one gigantic gulp. Do what they do. Inspiration struck me. Landlord. I pounded the bar with my fist. I want some great big pig ears. The fattest, rosiest pig ears you have. Lots of them. Napoleon and all the little piggies. A hand tapped on my shoulder. With some difficulty, I turned around to see Mr. Ambrose standing before me, his face as cold and expressionless as ever. I believe I have discovered our man, he hissed, and made an inconspicuous hand gesture. His name is Thomas Gurney, a factory worker who now and again seems to like doing work not quite legal to improve his monthly earnings. He's sitting at that table over there, engaged in gambling activity. I believe I can. Suddenly, he stopped. His voice turned lower and darker as he asked, "Why are you grinning, Mr. Linton?" "Because pig ears are wonderful," I declared, my grin widening. "Truly, they are. I must remember to congratulate a farmer the next time I see one. It is really worth raising all those pigs and fattening them up and whatnot, just to get such wonderful pig ears to drink." I frowned. The only thing I don't understand is how they end up liquid in a tankard. I could swear somebody told me, only I can't remember, Mr. Linton. "Why yes, sir, I'm here, sir, ready to obey your every command, sir. Lower your voice, Mr. Linton, and do not call me, sir, while we are here incognito." "Yes, sir, of course, sir. Mr. Linton, I have a question." "Shoot." He leaned forward until his granite face was only a couple of inches away from mine. "Are you intoxicated?" I blinked. That word had too many syllables for my current mental capacity to cope with. Intoxifatsy. Intoxicated, inebriated, lashed, mashed, tiddly, on a bender. In other words, Mr. Linton, are you drunk? Slowly, the frown on my forehead deepened. Don't know. I've never been drunk before. How do you tell, sir? Well, the inability to speak correctly is generally considered a reliable indicator of intoxication. I may have imagined it, but his reply sounded a tiny bit sarcastic. "And I told you to not call me sir." For a moment, I considered complying, but he had hounded me for so long to call him sir, it was too good an opportunity to get back at him by doing what he'd actually demanded of me. My grin returned. "I owe you proper respect as my superior, sir. I could never be so disrespectful as to forget that, sir." His eyes narrowed infinitesimally, or at least while you're drunk you can't be, apparently. "Yes, sir, exactly, sir." He gave me his coldest glare yet this evening, but then, suddenly, his eyes shifted upward, looking over my shoulder. Turning my head, I followed his gaze and saw the grimy landlord watching us with suspicious little eyes. "Over here," Mr. Ambrose commanded in a low voice and, without waiting for an answer, grabbed me by the arm and dragged me into a quiet corner. I can't believe it. There really was disbelief in his voice, mingled with exasperation and wonder and, well, probably a lot of other things I was too intoxicated to notice. "I can simply not believe it. You have been drinking, and not just drinking any drinks, but drinks containing alcohol. What's so strange about it?" I mumbled. "People do it every day. Men do it every day. But you are. Yes, I smiled up at him. I felt like smiling. I felt like it was a happy world. "I am what? A girl? Really? Gosh, I hadn't noticed." He drew a deep breath. "When men gather after dinner to consume alcoholic beverages, Mr. Linton," he pointed out in a very tight, controlled voice, "it is the custom of civilized society that women leave the room, because women have no interest in alcohol and no business drinking it. It is not within their nature. Very interesting, I'm sure." My grin grew wider. It was getting a bit easier to talk without stumbling over my syllables. "But since, as you're so often kind enough to point out, I am Mr. Victor Linton while in your employ, what do those poor, alcohol-deprived females have to do with me? Why in heaven's name did you drink? You ordered me to." "I never. You said to behave like everybody else. Everybody else was drinking. You were." I nudged him playfully in the ribs, something that I vaguely knew I normally wouldn't have done with a 10-foot pole. "Don't you remember? Another one, me good fellow, From the look Mr. Ambrose gave me, he didn't appreciate being nudged playfully in the ribs very much. Nor did he apparently appreciate vocal impersonations. "You," he told me in a tone that could have frozen the Sahara, "are a disgrace to your sex." "Which one would that be?" From freezing the Sahara, his eyes went right onto the Kalahari. "That is a discussion we will have at a later time. Right now, Mr. Linton, I have to go interview the man we came to look for, before he decides to leave. How may I be of assistance, sir? You may go into that room there, he said, pointing to the door which led to the pub's back room. Sit quietly in a corner and not touch another drop of alcohol until I come to get you. Understood? Why yes, sir, I understand. Damn, I was stumbling over syllables again. But how will that help you find the file? By having you out of my way. Now go. With that, he turned and strode towards the tables. I scowled after him. That hadn't been very nice. And I didn't like it when people weren't nice to me, particularly not him. Still scowling, I moved towards the door he had indicated. It took me a few moments to get through it, because it was rather difficult to determine which of the three doors that kept dancing around in front of my eyes was the one I wanted, but eventually I managed it. In the back room, there were more tables, and a maid was running around, taking orders. Most of the men here were drinking from mugs or glasses that were a lot smaller than the ones out front. I slumped down at one of the tables, where another man was already sitting, and waved the maid towards me. I'll have what he's having, I'll ordered. And there'll better be no donkey's hoofs or bull's horns or other animal parts in there. The maid blinked at me in confusion. Sorry, sir, oh, forget it, just get me a drink. Sir. I watched her bustle away and gave a derisive snort. Blast Mr. Ambrose, don't drink any more my foot. I would show him. Here, sir. My mug had arrived. I took the tiny little thing, sniffed, and broke out into a coughing fit. By George, that smelled sharp, but I had already ordered it now, so I might as well drink it. And anyhow, it wasn't as if it could do much harm. The mugs were much smaller here, after all. Asterisk tilde asterisk tilde asterisk asterisk tilde asterisk tilde asterisk. I had to confess, after a while I got rather fond of the stuff that came in small mugs. Admittedly, at first it made your throat burn and your eyes water, but in the long run, it had the most interesting effects. For instance, not so long ago, a troop of jolly little yellow pigs had come out of the chimney and started to dance on the back wall. They were performing quite excellently, all thanks to this amazing liquid that had opened my eyes to a new world. I pounded the table with my fist. Another one, another cow's ear, or was it pig's tail? Darn it, another cup of this stuff. The maid hurried to my table and deposited another cup in front of me with an anxious expression. Was she afraid of me? Maybe it was this miraculous substance that I was consuming, making my voice all rough and manly, that made me more intimidating. I grinned. I liked the idea. Swiftly, I grasped the metal cup and gulped down its contents. Yes, I could really grow to like this drink. It made you feel pleasantly woozy. Why there, little fellow, are ye planning to drink the whole River Thames in one night? Leave something for the rest of us. Somebody laughed. I looked up from my empty cup and saw that the words had come from the other chap sitting at the table. He hadn't said a word before, but now he was grinning at me. I gave his question a few moments of serious contemplation. No, I finally decided. I don't want to drink the Thames. There's too much crap swimming in it. That got another laugh from him and a few of the other people around us. Blast it, my table partner told me, raising his cup to me, I'm impressed. Hold your liquor well, considering. Considering, is that supposed to mean that little people can't drink as much as a big fellow like you? He grinned, displaying several missing teeth that gave his gnarled old face a jaunty look. No, they just usually end up unconscious under the table if they give it a go. Well, I'm not nearly drunk enough for that yet. Let's drink to that. He raised his cup, bottoms up. No, I told him, raising my cup but shaking my head. Bottoms down. I won't take my bottom off this chair until I am completely Intoxy-fatsy. Well, you know what I mean. No, I ain't got no clue, to be honest, lad. Doesn't matter. We sat there and drank for a few minutes in companionable silence. I studied my counterpart as I did so. He was an old chap, 60 years or more, a sailor's cap covering his bald head, and his wiry figure wrapped in an old, faded jacket. I liked him. He didn't seem to be in a very good mood, though. He was staring into his cup dejectedly, and whenever he showed his charming toothless grin, there was a tinge of melancholy to it. The world just ain't what it used to be no more, lad, he said, smiling sadly and raising his cup again. We can agree on that, I said, and we clinked cups and drank. After all, I was sitting in the back room of a disreputable pub in the East End, getting thoroughly and royally drunk. If somebody had told me a few months ago I would be doing this, I'd have suggested they see a doctor. No honesty, you know, he added dejectedly. Nowhere, quite right. We clinked cups again, we drank. I wondered what would happen if I told him that he was having this conversation with a girl in disguise. Maybe he would be angry about my dishonesty, though something about the glassy look in his eyes made me think that maybe he'd laugh at the good joke, or maybe just not understand what I was saying. Makes me really want to get drunk, the gnarled old sailor said. I nodded. We clinked cups, we drank. So, why do you want to get drunk? He asked. I scowled. Because somebody I despise told me not to. He laughed. Is that so? You don't despise him, little fellow. And how would you know? You don't even know who I'm talking about. Because if ye despised him, ye wouldn't care what he told you to do. Ye'd just ignore him for the puddle of piss he is. Ye respect him, and ye want him to respect ye. That's why ye ain't doing what he's told ye. So ye can show him ye've got your own ye'd on your shoulders. What are you, a doctor or gypsy fortune teller or what? The sailor's shoulders slumped. Nay, lad, just an old man who's seen too damn much of the world. So what about you? I asked, eager to change the subject. Why are you getting drunk? The shoulders slumped even farther. I told ye, dishonesty. Yes, but what kind of dishonesty? Were you tricked? Tricked, lad. Tricked as surely as ever a fellow was. He gave a deep sigh. So you really want to hear my sad story, lad, do you? I warn ye, it's as sad a story as ever you heard. As I said, gesturing to the chair I was sitting on, bottoms down. I'm not going anywhere for a while. You might as well unburden your heart while we get drunk. You're a good lad. The old sailor sighed again. Oh, well, I've got this partner, you know. Had him ever since I came to London. When times are tough, we do jobs together, ye know. The world ain't what it used to be. Surviving can be hard, sometimes. I had the feeling that the jobs he alluded to weren't exactly legal. But I wasn't feeling particularly judgmental tonight. He seemed like a nice old fellow, for a man, and besides, the yellow piggies were still performing so delightfully at the back of the room. I just couldn't be in a bad mood. We were real pals, this fellow and me, the old man continued sadly. Did everything together, shared everything together. If one of us found a job, we always got the other, and we split the cash. But then, the other night, he came in, drunk like the dickens, and started playing at cards, ye know. And he starts wearing fancy stuff he ain't got the money for. So I go and asks him where the money's coming from, and he tells me he's got luck at the tables. But ye see, I know he's not telling the truth. I know he's found a good job and don't want to share. So I follow him, and what do I see? Him going off to meet some posh geezer, gives him something, and gets a bag full of cash in return, the little weasel. He took another large swallow from his cup, and gave a big, big sigh. The world really ain't what it used to be. I wouldn't never have expected that of him, not of old Tom Gurney. I nodded philosophically. Only a few seconds later did the name register in my befuddled brain. I choked on my next mouthful of the burning drink. What did you say his name was? I gasped, coughing. Thomas Gurney, the little weasel. Can't imagine he did that, and to me, who looked after him ever since his mum died. The world ain't what it used to be no longer. Yes, I'm sure it ain't. Isn't. Tell me, where exactly was this house where your partner met this posh geezer? Asterisk tilde asterisk tilde asterisk asterisk tilde asterisk tilde asterisk. I had a nice, long talk with my friend, the old sailor, and afterwards sat and watched the amazing visions produced by the burning drink. The dancing piggies at the back of the room had performed about half of a Russian ballet when I heard a familiar Arctic voice from the main room. Mr. Linton, Mr. Linton. I sighed and nodded to my drinking companion. Duty calls. He grinned at me. Don't be too hard on him, lad. I demanded, outraged. Hard on him. He's my superior, not the other way around. Exactly. Shaking my head, I stumbled towards the door. The old fellow was nice enough, but strange. Out in the main room, Mr. Ambrose awaited me, displeasure evident in every unmoving line of his face. We're getting out of here, he stated. The lips of that man Gurney are sewn shut. I cannot get a single word out of him. This was a waste of time. We'll have to try something else. I raised an eyebrow, or maybe both. Control over my facial muscles was rather difficult to maintain at the moment. Really? Yes, of course. You got nothing at all, did you? No. Not the tiniest whiniest tiddly-bitly bit of information. I am not in the habit of repeating myself, Mr. Linton. No, I got nothing. Now let's go. Tut, I smirked at him. Or maybe I drooled at him a little. What did it matter? This was great. The little yellow piggies were doing pirouettes, just for the special occasion of my triumph. And not so fast, sir. I think I have some interesting news for you. Asterisk tilde asterisk tilde asterisk asterisk tilde asterisk tilde asterisk. There was this drunk old fellow, you know, really drunk, you could really tell from the way he spoke. Mr. Ambrose listened to my account with his usual facial expression, or lack thereof. In fact, both Mr. Ambroses did. There seemed to be two of him at the moment. Sometimes there were even three, but most of the time there were only two. They were swaying slightly and going in and out of focus. And I totally conned him. Just like that. And he started babbling. And, what was I talking about again? Barman, another round of pig's snouts. No, eyes. Oh, to hell with it. So I got him talking and the blurry, stony-looking Ambrose in front of me morphed into two again, neither looking very pleased. Under normal circumstances, I might have been terrified. I mean, two Mr. Ambroses to hound me all day, trying to drive me insane. Please, every girl has her limits. But right now, there was this warm, fuzzy glowy gargantuan greatly gobbledy-wobbledy wonderful feeling inside, and not even the thought of two Mr. Ambroses to deal with at once could faze me. Why should it? I was a strong woman. Strong and brilliant and all-powerful. Let all men cower before me. Right now, I knew I could squish them all like bugs and conquer the world, even if it did seem slightly blurred. And he said he followed him there. I finished my account, and saw him there, because he went there, and he followed him. And he told me, and now we know. Isn't that just peachy, slug? I mean, sir, we know what we wanted to know. Although I can't for the life of me remember why exactly we wanted to know. Bugger, well, I'm sure it'll come back to me once I've conquered the world. Do you think I should start with Spain, or rather France? His facial expression didn't change. Somehow, he still managed to suddenly radiate twice as much cold disapproval. Mr. Linton, yes sir. You neglected to mention where this man you were conversing with actually went. Oh, really? How strange. Well. Yes. I tried to sort through my foggy mind to find the answer to this conundrum. It wasn't easy. Finally, the answer popped out of the mist. Duck Road, I exclaimed. He went to Duck Road, number 97. Mr. Linton, there is no such place as Duck Road in London. Sure there is. It wasn't a native duck, though. Some kind of foreign little beast. From the east, I think. I snapped my fingers, or at least tried to. Somehow, my 27 fingers got tangled up in each other. East India Duck Road. He went to a large house on East India Duck Road, number 97. Mr. Ambrose gave me a long look. Even in my current conquer the world mood, I felt that look. Mr. Linton, is it possible that you are talking about East India Dock Road, not Duck? I put my plans for conquering France and squashing all men like cockroaches aside for the moment and considered this. Possible, I conceded. Of course. Mr. Ambrose's eyes flashed, and he looked past me, half speaking to himself. East India Dock Road. The East India Company. I still think it was Duck, though, I told him. He didn't pay any attention to me. Yes, the East India Company. And Dalgleish is the main shareholder. One more piece of the puzzle. I blinked up at him. I always get those wrong. I always try to use the piece with the blackberry as the nose for the dog in the background. Are you going to help me conquer the world now, sir? His gaze snapped back to me. Mr. Linton. Yes, sir, right here, sir. I again have a question for you. Shoot, but please not me. Mr. Linton, did you consume even more alcohol? Certainly not, sir. I never drink on duty. Dudley, on duty. A burp escaped me, and I quickly covered my mouth with my hand. That's what the soldiers in novels always say when they've been drinking, anyway. You did drink even more. How did you know that? I demanded. I told you no, like any good little soldier. He ignored my question, taking a threatening step closer. Why did you consume even more alcohol? I gave you express orders not to. I nodded sagely. I remembered that. Yes, sir. But then I remembered that I simply loved disobeying your orders. I grinned. I suppose I'm not a soldier, am I? Not so good with following orders. No, you're not. Blast. Well, I'm still going to conquer the world. Want to help me? No. He sounded terse for some reason, and not at all eager to help me with my big project of world domination. Strange. Very strange. At the moment, what I want to do, Mr. Linton, is to go to number 97 East India Dock Road, and to tear it down brick by brick. But considering the state you are in, that will have to wait. Come on. A firm hand grasped my elbow and started to lead me towards the exit, away from the suspicious innkeeper and the dancing yellow piggies on the wall. I waved goodbye to them and smiled brightly. Nighty night, I called over my shoulder. Thank you all so much for your performance. You were mesmerizing. Will you hold your tongue? Mr. Ambrose hissed. I shook my head. No, I don't think so. It's too wet. I don't want to get my fingers wet. We were out of the pub now and walking down the street. Our progress was rather slow, though. For some reason, the world kept wobbling, and the two Mr. Ambroses insisted on walking with one arm around me. Amazing how they both managed to use one and the same arm. You see, I said, gesturing at the swaying houses on either side of us, that's why I want to conquer the world. If I could tell the world what to do, I'm sure it would sit still and not be moving around like this. Assuredly, Mr. Linton, come along. Plus, there's this whole thing about equality of the sexes. I could fix that once I'd conquer the world, and kick all the chauvinists out of government, and make them tie the shoelaces of passing schoolgirls and clean public latrines. Very sound policy, Mr. Linton. Now if you could walk a little faster. I was touched. I never would have thought a Mr. Ambrose would actually agree with me. I just wish I knew which of the two it was. Maybe at least one of them would help me conquer the world after all, and we could rule it together, although he would act in a solely advisory capacity, of course. The power had to stay with women, where it belonged. I'm so happy you agree with me, I said, snuggling up against him. I could feel him stiffen beside me, and his steps, which up to that point had been regular as clockwork, became uneven. I mean, you normally act like the most cold, callous, cruel, dogmatically domineering bastard in the world, but sometimes, like now, I get this crazy idea and I start thinking you could actually be quite nice. You know, if you wanted to. I am gratified to hear that, Mr. Linton. The world swayed again, and I put my arm tighter around him. Yes, I murmured, quite nice. You feel nice, too. Mr. Ambrose missed a step and stumbled. The swaying world must have started to put him off balance, too. Indeed. Had he gotten drunk, too? For a moment, it had almost sounded as if he had stuttered. Feel nice, look nice. You'd think you'd have more brains. More brains. Yes, sir, I nodded vigorously, glad at the chance to explain to him what a humongous dickhead he was. I mean this whole business with Miss Hamilton, for example. I mean, how could you be so stupid? If you really had to pick somebody, why somebody like that, so shallow and effeminate and boring. The fingers which held my shoulders twitched. Do feel free to air your views on my bad taste in female companions, Mr. Linton, he said. Did I imagine it or did his voice sound slightly strange? Don't mince your words on my account. Don't worry, I assured him, glad to put his fears to rest. I wasn't going to. I mean, couldn't you at least find somebody intelligent? No, you had to show up with the first pretty face you could get hold of. That's shallow of you. Made me angry. Angry, Mr. Linton, why? Stored away somewhere in my befuddled brain, I might have had an answer to that. But I thought it was time to come back to my overarching theme. And that's why I am going to conquer the world, I concluded. To prevent such horrible things from ever happening again. My going to a ball with a young lady, that is why you intend to conquer the world. Yes, and to end the oppression of womanhood, of course, and the sad lack of solid chocolate and beer in the pig ears of an average English girl.